HarperCollins presents One Bed by Joss Wood. Read by Kristin Atherton. Chapter 1. Driving her rental car away from the airport, Bea Williams wished she wasn't in a rush to get to Golly's Santorini villa near Ia. It was midday, and the sun was high in the dense blue sky, coating everything in a luminous glow. Despite summer being over, the bougainvillea, jasmine, and potted geraniums still pulsated with colour, while the lake's smooth turquoise sea shimmered. The Greek sun created sharp contrasts between light and shadow, and accentuated the contours of the cliffs and rocky outcrops of the caldera. Mid-October, when many of the accommodation establishments closed their doors, and the owners wiped the sweat from their foreheads and checked their bulging bank accounts, was her favourite time to be on the island. The sunsets were as vibrant, the sea still warm, but the island, especially the famous blue-roofed town of Ia, wasn't a portly man's vest bursting its buttons. In October, Ia returned to being part of a community, a place where people lived year-round, where you didn't need to fight your way through the streets, because the selfie crowd needed to pose in front of the iconic views of the caldera, or because they had to capture the always amazing sunset. Thank God the island was, for Santorini, relatively empty. Bea didn't know if she could contend with hordes of pushy tourists. The next 2 weeks were going to be busy. She was organising Golly's joint retirement and 70th birthday bash, while wrestling with a combination of writer's block, imposter syndrome, and characters who wouldn't bloody talk to her. She'd visited Santorini in every season, sometimes several times a year, sometimes to write, sometimes to relax. This island was her second home, the place where she'd banged out the first book in her Urban Explorers series, where she'd gathered her courage to show Golly her work, praying her acerbic godmother wouldn't strip 10 layers of her skin while she critiqued her work before telling her it was unsaleable. It had been unsaleable, back then, but Golly had made a series of suggestions and Bea had rewritten the book 3 times. A year later, her super agent godmother sold the first 3 books in the series. Bea'd submitted book 9 of the series a few weeks back and was currently plotting book 10. Lately, she was as insecure as she'd been as a debut author 5 years ago, jumpy and jittery and second-guessing herself at every turn. She couldn't remember when she'd last lost time in front of the keyboard, stumbling out of the story bleary-eyed with cramping fingers, knowing the letters she'd tossed onto the screen were pure gold. The voices in her head, snatches of conversation between her characters, some in whispers, some shouted, were silent. She no longer saw short video clips of what they were doing or how they were reacting. Writing, her solace, her joy and her escape, felt like dragging stone-heavy feet through peanut butter. Bloop. Bea cocked her head and hit the volume button to turn down Shabuzi's A Bar song, blasting from the rental car's small speakers. She usually caught the bus from the airport to Ia, with just a rucksack on her back, but this trip to Golly's Folly required a large suitcase and dresses in bags. What was that strange noise? Not recognising it, she shrugged, lifted the volume, tapped her fingers against the steering wheel, and wished for her own double shot of whiskey. As Bea's professional crisis was ratcheting up, Golly had announced her retirement and told the publishing world she was closing her literary agency. That meant Bea, and the agency's other clients, needed to find alternative representation. She'd been tossing back antacids like chocolate-covered peanuts since first hearing her godma's news. "I've got more money than God, Bea, darling, and I want to spend it. I want to spend some time at the hidden beach resort, party at Tomorrowland, and drink ayahuasca in the Orinoco Basin. I want to read for pleasure, Bea, darling, if I find the time between learning Spanish and my Pilates and Bikram yoga classes. I also intend to find a lover." The fact that Bea needed to look up the hidden beach resort, it was a luxurious nudist colony on the Mexican Riviera, and refresh her mind about ayahuasca, the Amazon version of psychedelic shrooms was a little embarrassing. Golly was extremely eccentric, vivacious, and super cool.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?